And after last week, when I proclaimed that I had the NFL all figured out, the good teams were starting to separate from the bad, well, we went 6-8 in the money line, um which puts us at 50 and 28 in the money line through week five. Now, last year in the money line through week five, we were 44 and 34. So again, um, being 50 and 28, we are 6 games better than last year in the money line. In best bets, we went 2 for 5. We did hit the Carolina Panthers plus 1.5. We did hit the Indianapolis Colts minus 6.5. We obviously missed Chargers, Chiefs, and the Eagles. That puts us at 15 out of 25 in best bets. We were 14 for 25 last year for week five in best bet, so 1 game better. So now I did look last year. I did go 7-7 in the money line in week five and week six. I bounced back and went 13-1. I do feel like this week was sort of an anomaly. I'm gonna say that up front. I think the good teams bounce back. I think it'll be a good week for favorites next week. But this week started off all topsy turvy, at least with Thursday night football, because of what San Francisco did going into LA as 5.5 point underdogs. No wide receivers essentially. Christian McCaffrey was out there, but he's been banged up. No Ricky Pearsall, no Jawan Jennings, no George Kittle. Obviously, no Brandon Ayuk out there. And Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne and Christian McCaffrey's offense essentially beat the Los Angeles Rams. And Mac Jones was getting beat to hell all night, made some key throws down the stretch late. I think Mac Jones could be the next Sam Darnold. I think he could be the next Baker Mayfield, the way he played. And if you look really hard at what Mac Jones did in New England, he did make the playoffs as a rookie with Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator. Then he goes from Josh McDaniels to Matt Patricia as his offensive coordinator. And obviously, with no offensive infrastructure around him the last couple of years there with Belichick, just sort of fell apart. And I watched Thursday night, and you tell me the difference between Mac Jones and Brock Purdy because I don't see one. And as great as Matthew Stafford has been this year for the Rams, their defense could not really get a pass rush on Mac Jones. The Niners, Brandon Fish, Jared Verse, those guys up front. And the Niners came in there, and again, Kyle Shanahan owned Sean McVay throughout his career. And yes, the game went to overtime. And I thought that was a stupid decision by Sean McVay to go for it. I think personally, early in the season, a tie is better than a loss, especially in the division. You'd rather have a tie, I think, than a loss. I did not understand the call there to go for it, 4th and 1, to run the ball right at the middle. Did not understand it, especially when your offensive line has been good in the passing game all night. They have not been good in the run blocking game. Stafford had all night to throw. I mean, the Niners are so beat up defensively as well, they could not even get a pass rush. And the fact that San Francisco won that game against their arch rival on the road, all beat to hell the way they did, could be a season defining game for the Niners, who have a very easy schedule down the stretch. Then we go to London, where Carson Wentz, the Minnesota Vikings, they defeated the Browns 21-17 after Wentz led them down the field for that game-winning drive. Obviously, the story here is how Dylan Gabriel played for the Browns, which, I mean, I thought he played okay. Browns still only put up 17 points, which is their normal. Dylan Gabriel had a good opening drive, good script, kind of fell off after that. My takeaway here is Dylan Gabriel is Tua Tagovailoa in brown and orange. That's all he is. I don't think he's going to work. He was better than Joe Flacco. That's not saying much. The Browns are wasting the number one best defense in the NFL on a terrible, inept offensive roster, and I don't understand why they're not playing Dylan Sampson more, the running back out of Tennessee. They're giving almost the whole workload now to Quinshon Judkins, the running back they drafted out of Ohio State. I said it before. I thought the Browns had the weirdest draft ever. They drafted two quarterbacks, they drafted two running backs. Carson Schwarzenegger has been a in at linebacker. Myles Garrett and Mason Graham on the defensive line have been playing out of their minds. And it doesn't matter because the Browns offense cannot consistently move the ball. Very predictable play calling from Kevin Stefanski, who I know Browns fans that want to defend him because he is a two-time coach of the year, but how much longer are you going to lose, especially now when Dylan Gabriel makes his first career road start going to Pittsburgh on Sunday? Then, I can't tell you what happened with my Eagles. I mean, they were up 17-3. We all know the story. Sean Payton Bo Nix dominated that fourth quarter, outscored the Eagles in that quarter. 18-0 to win the game 21-17. Saquon Barkley only gets one carry in the second half, six total carries. And I will say Denver made the adjustment. The Eagles did not. And I think the biggest underlying story for my Philadelphia Eagles this year is the offensive line has not been playing up to its standards. Currently ranked 15th in the league by Pro Football Focus when they were easily the number one offensive line coming into the season. And teams are sending safeties down. Late, they're rotating the Eagles' offense. The offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, is not adjusting to that. They're really stopping the run, and the Eagles have a lot of negative first down plays where they're stuck in 2nd and 12, 2nd and 14. And it's really hard to overcome that. They did get the passing game involved. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts been very accurate. He's been very good with his decision making. But when you're pass, and then you don't go back to the running game, Denver changed it up. They were playing a lot of man coverage in the first half. In the second half, they were disguising. They went from man pre snap to zone post snap, really confusing Jalen Hurts in the offensive line. And the defense, without Nolan Smith, has not been getting a constant pass rush. And that's the biggest difference, in my opinion, between the 2024 Eagles and the 2025 Eagles. It's not necessarily the run game or the pass game or the offense or the defense. It's the defensive lines and the offensive line. They're not getting up to the quarterback and they're not protecting in the pass or run game as well as they did a year ago. Credit to Denver and Bo Nix, who Cortland Sutton made some amazing plays. There was obviously some controversial calls. The Zach Bond call I thought was the biggest one. I thought that was complete BS, to be honest with you. But ultimately it didn't decide the game. Denver outplayed Philadelphia in the second half. That's what decided the game. I did pick the Saints to beat the Giants, and I was aided by that fumble return for a touchdown. I said if there was one win the Saints were going to have on their schedule, it's this one. Now they take on the Patriots in week 6, which you would think could be a trap game. The way New England came off at Buffalo, but I don't think Mike Vrabel is going to take the Saints lightly. Listen, this was the Saints Super Bowl, and Spencer Rattler has played well enough to keep him in the game. Jackson Dart, first road start, played okay, had a couple of turnovers, but without Malik Neighbors, this Giants offense is not explosive at all. But speaking of explosions, Dak Prescott, even without CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens and the Cowboys took apart the New York Jets. And I said this about Aaron Glenn, and I think I got some pushback. I said, if you look really hard at Aaron Glenn's defense in Detroit, Aaron Glenn was not a great defensive coordinator. I said, even with all those injuries, great defensive coordinators get the most out of their players. And I was concerned about Aaron Glenn when he gave up 40 points in that Commanders playoff game a year ago. And I said I thought the Jets were going to be the Lions year one, just with better infrastructure and better defense. Turns out their defense is bad. And that defense has not been the same since Robert Saleh has been in charge. And that was embarrassing. I mean, 4th and 1, they're running bootlegs with Justin Fields to the left and having a right and a quarterback throw to his left. Did not understand that. They're getting the ball to Garrett Wilson, but way too late in the game. Jets offense came out late when it was already garbage time. And I got to give Brian Schottenheimer of the Cowboys a lot of credit because outside of the game at Chicago, they've been very buttoned up. They're 2-1. You can make a case they should be 3-2. Some people could even make a case if CeeDee Lamb makes that catch against the Eagles, they could be 4-1. And we all thought after the Micah Parsons trade that they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They still don't generate a constant pass rush. And I do think this is a case of, hey, they're going to play the Jets and Panthers now the next 2 weeks. They're playing bad football teams. which, yes, Carolina did come back against Miami. Yes, I did bet the Panthers, but that was more betting against the Dolphins than it was betting for the Panthers. And the Dolphins were up 17 nothing, and they lost that lead because the Dolphins are not a very good football team. And Mike McDaniel should be fired here within the first couple weeks. I think it was after week 6 last year that Robert Saleh was fired. Mike McDaniel was going to be fired here. I think if they lose one more game in Miami, the Dolphins and Jets are just both bad. And yes, the Dolphins won, which puts them a game ahead of the Jets. Those two may be two bottom three, four teams in the entire NFL. I think the biggest surprise of the year, though, in the NFL is the fact that the Baltimore Ravens, even without Lamar Jackson, are 1-4, and they may just be bad. I mean, the Texans' offense, which could not do anything the first, 15 quarters, it took them to the last quarter against the Tennessee Titans to pull away. And now, obviously, here in week 5 against the Ravens, CJ Stroud played the best he has easily in over 2 years. And that Texans defensive line got after Cooper Rush. They stacked the box against Derrick Henry. And when you don't have Lamar Jackson's mobility, this Ravens offense looks a lot like the offense Derrick Henry ran his last year in Tennessee. Which, yes, they have Zay Flowers who's got speed, but when you stack the box, Cooper Rush can't get into him down the field. And Mark Andrews looks like a shell of himself. He's not the same tight end he was when he entered the league. The Ravens defense is one of the worst units statistically in the history of the NFL through 5 weeks. Yes, they are banged up to hell, but that was shocking in Baltimore how the Ravens just didn't even show up. And now they got an angry Rams team coming into Baltimore. Now, again, typically the rule is when a team gets embarrassed like the Ravens did, take them the next week. The Rams got embarrassed, I would argue, on a Thursday night. Now, they do have to come cross country again for the third time this year. They already went to Tennessee and they already went to Philly. But this is a Rams team who Sean McVay owned up to the loss against San Francisco, said it was a bad play call. They almost beat the Ravens the last time they came to Baltimore 2 years ago. Maybe they put up more of a fight offensively than being Baltimore, but man, I do not know. Then, I was high on the Raiders this year. I said they have a new head coach, they have a new offensive coordinator, they have a new quarterback. They were in one score games last year. I said the Raiders could be the shock of the week. And I am shocked with not only how bad Geno Smith is, because Geno Smith has never been this turnover prone throughout his career, but at how inept the offense is. And I think it's safe to say the Indianapolis Colts are for real, who they completely took apart the Las Vegas Raiders, who were up 3-0 early in this game. And from then on, it was all Colts. I mean, this thing was over by the second quarter. We thought the Arizona Cardinal game was over by the second quarter, and Arizona was obviously up big in the fourth quarter. The DeMarcado fumble happens. The play happens where Cam Ward gets intercepted. The Arizona defender falls down, loses the ball untouched, goes in the end zone, touchdown Titans. And from that moment on, the Tennessee Titans took complete control of this game. And you look at the Arizona Cardinals, started off 2-0, beat the Saints, okay, beat the Panthers, excuse me, but they almost blew that game after having a huge lead going into the fourth quarter. I believe it was, 28-3 or something like that, even in the fourth quarter. Week 3, they should have beat San Francisco, but Mac Jones drives them down the field, hits a game winning field goal. Week 4, that Thursday night game, they come out sloppy against Seattle. They make the comeback, they have a chance to win. Seattle beats them at the horn. And now here in week 5, have the big lead against Tennessee. Tennessee comes back. They don't do anything in the second half offensively. And the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward, congratulations to them, finally getting off the schneid. They beat Arizona at the home. And Arizona has had a weird schedule where they played now 3 home games, and at home they are 1-2. So I was very high on this Arizona team going into the year. I thought this was going to be the year for Marvin Harrison. I thought this was going to be the year for Kyler Murray. And I like their roster. I don't think Jonathan Cannon's going anywhere. He obviously reamed DeMarcano for that fumble, which I don't understand how this keeps happening across the NFL. It happened a couple times on Sunday. It's not that hard to score and set the ball down. Guys want to taunt and guys want to celebrate and do all this stuff. It's hard to score a touchdown, especially for a third string running back like DeMarcano. Just make sure you get in the end zone, or that stuff should get you cut, in my opinion, especially for a losing franchise. The Titans have nothing around Cam Ward. This kid's been through it. He's going to go for the ringer. It's going to be a tough year for him. But what a win for Tennessee. I'm sure that knocked a lot of people out of survivor pools. I'm sure a lot of people went out of survivor pools this weekend. How about Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield against Seattle and Sam Darnold, the two quarterbacks in the 2018 draft class, going blow for blow. Bucks winning 38-35 with a game-winning field goal. And Tampa's offense looks really good, even without Mike Evans and Mike Buka. I think you can already crown him the offensive rookie of the year in the NFL. But your concern, if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, is it's like, yes, we're 4-1, but we needed a missed field goal against Atlanta to win that game. We needed a touchdown at the last second against Houston to win that game. We needed a kick at the horn when we were controlling the game against the Jets to win that game. And now we need a kick at the horn when we were really in control. We could not stop Seattle in the second half against the Seahawks. So yes, we're 4-1, but they've won a lot of these close score games. Eventually, that's going to come back to you. And Colt Kubiak has Sam Darnold playing at a very hot level. And in this very competitive NFC West, even at 3-2, and the Niners now with only one loss, I would say don't discount this Seattle team, who has shocked me. I think they're one of the biggest surprises in the NFL this year. Jake Browning just cannot complete a pass to the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, their offense got going white, but Jake Browning for 3 interceptions before that. This game really felt over before it started. I honestly should have taken the Lions. It would have been a close cover, would have made me nervous, but the Bengals offense is inept. And if you want to see value in what the quarterback position means in today's NFL, I think look no further than the offense of the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC North when Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are playing versus when Cooper Rush and Jake Browning are playing. This offense for Cincinnati, one of the most explosive in the league over the past 5 years, and Baltimore's for that matter. They both look unwatchable when Lamar and Burrow are not in there. And the Bengals defense is no longer creating turnovers, and they may have started 2-0, but now they're 2-3 with 3 blowout losses, and they go to Green Bay. Now, I predicted this was going to happen, even with Joe Burrow as the silver lining. I predicted that the Bengals were going to start 2-4 after starting 2-0, and I said that after that they were going to run the table, they were going to win 11 games, and they were going to win the division, and go 9-2 down the stretch. At this point, I don't think that's going to happen. Credit to Detroit, who after losing week one against Green Bay, and I sounded the alarm bells, they have won in dominating fashion. Now, their wins have been against the Browns, they have been against the Bengals, they have been against the Bears, who they were going out that revenge spot. Though the Baltimore win, they beat Lamar Jackson. And how significant that is, we don't know yet because we don't know if the Ravens are just truly bad this year or the Lamar Jackson injury is the reason why they're bad. Though we know though how their defense is. I gotta give a lot of credit to the Commanders because I felt really good about my Chargers pick. They were up 10-0. They were driving. Bam, a Quinton Johnson fumble happened, and the game completely flipped. And the Chargers could not recover. I mean, they could barely move the ball. They were getting penalties left and right. Joe Alt is out. We know Rashawn Slater's out. Mekhi Becton ended up with the game. Their offensive line, yes, was banged up all to hell. Now they lose Amari and Hampton with an injury. We think the Niners are banged up. The Chargers maybe even more banged up. And going into week 4, we thought, oh my God, Chargers are 3-0. They're 3-0 in the division. If they win this game against the Giants at 4-0, they're almost a lock to win the AFC West. Now they lose 2 in a row. And Denver has come back. They are 3-2. The Chargers are 3-2. And Denver is now right there with a chance to potentially win this division. Just an unbelievable turn of events for this Chargers team from a couple years ago. A couple weeks ago, I should say. And for the Commanders, that was a big statement win. Bill Merritt has now seemingly placed himself as the number one running back. Even without Terry McLaurin, their offense was able to move the ball thanks to Luke McCaffrey and Debo Samuel and Merritt. Jane Daniels still does not look 100% to me. He still does not look as explosive as a year ago to me. But I think the bigger story here is the Commanders' defense. Shutting down the Chargers' offense in that second half. They did get a couple of key turnovers, including an interception on Justin Herbert at the goal line. But wow, what a big win by the Commanders, who now go Monday Night Football at home against the Chicago Bears, with the Bears coming off their bye, a big one next Monday night in the nation's capital. Then I said I thought New England could keep it close. I picked the Bills to win, but I said, I don't know about 8.5 points. Remember, guys, I said coming into the week, I said I don't want my picks this week. I said this feels like a weird week in the NFL. I was right on that. New England did create 3 turnovers. Credit to them. Drake May made some incredible throws, especially the one where he's stiff arming the defender, finds his way to Stephon Diggs, who it was the Drake May and Stephon Diggs show. And that was a defining win for New England. I thought kicking the field goal from the 1 yard line at the end of the first half was going to cost them. I did not like that decision at all. But the bottom line here is Buffalo can have an off night. Philly can have an off night. Kansas City, we saw on Monday night, can have an off night. And Baltimore, I mean, those everybody thought were the 4 best teams in football, right? Baltimore, Philly, Kansas City, and Buffalo. 3 of them lost, one of them badly, and the other one was on a bye. So, just, or excuse me, all 4 of them lost, I should say. Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, and Eagles all lost, and one of them got beat badly. So Buffalo and the whiteout, which I thought looked very cool, looked very similar to Penn State, which James Franklin. Um, New England won that game, and I still don't know what their ceiling is for the rest of the season because I still think they need legitimate weapons on the outside. I don't trust Stephon Diggs to do that on a consistent basis. And I think the Bills are going to be fine. Listen, they're going to win this division. I have no reason to think they're not going to win the division and New England's going to overtake them, except for the fact the Patriots' next 3 games are against the Saints, the Titans, which is the Mike Vrabel revenge spot, and the Browns. They should go 3-0 in those games, and New England has a relatively soft schedule down the stretch, and they'll have the better quarterback in all 3 of those games, which is a big story because I think right now Drake May looks to be a more mobile Justin Herbert. We'll see with the Antonio Gibson injury. They finally start using Travion Henderson more out of Ohio State. I have not understood why they have not used him more, even Sunday night. I thought in the passing game now with Antonio Gibson out, he could get more work. And even with the fumbling issues, they still like Ramondre Stevenson for some odd reason. I don't know why. Now, how about Jacksonville, man? The pick six that earned the game, yes, but Trevor Lawrence falling down, you know, at the 1 yard line, getting up and scoring, that will be the iconic moment of the Jacksonville Jaguars season, no matter what happens. And this is a new NFL, this is a new year, and the Chiefs do not look like the Kansas City Chiefs. Monday night, extra rush for Andy Reid coming out that blowout loss to Baltimore. I know Jacksonville's a weird place to play. Kansas City historically has struggled there, but the Chiefs were in control of the game. They came out firing on all cylinders early, and Jacksonville made an adjustment in the second half. They said we're going to take the umbrella on the defense. We're not going to let you get over the top plays. We're going to force Patrick Mahomes to use his legs. He's still the team leader in rushing by far. And in the second half, outside of the one interception by Trevor Lawrence, the Chiefs' defense could not really stop the Jaguars' offense. And they even got a fumble where Trevor Lawrence was trying to dive over the pylon and it got knocked out at the 1 yard line. I thought that was a very impressive performance by Liam Cohen and the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. And the disappointing thing for Houston is everybody picked them to win the division, and they've gotten back in it now. They've won 2 in a row. But the Colts and Jaguars cannot stop winning. And those two teams right now look like the class of the AFC South. And Kansas City could lose to Detroit coming up. And I know they have one more opponent, and then they got Washington in week 8. This schedule is a brutal gauntlet. But you still got Patrick Mahomes, you still got Andy Reid. I think once Rashid Rice comes back starting in week 7, this offense will change as long as everybody stays healthy. And no, I'm absolutely not counting out the Chiefs, but what an impressive performance by Jacksonville to go down there and wait, down by 4. We're going to have a winning week in best bets. We're going to go 3 for 5, and Trevor Lawrence beats us. I said I didn't love any of my picks. Really, I thought the Colts and the Panthers were the two best bets on the board. That's why I took them. I said it was going to be a weird week in week 5. So yeah, going 6 for 8 in the money line, 2 for 5 in best bets. It was easily our worst week of the season. I'd be surprised if anybody of you did significantly better, maybe in betting. But you look at these lines, the only teams that covered were Minnesota, the Saints, Dallas, Houston, and Vegas and Detroit. I mean, that's 6 teams out of 14 games. Those are the only teams that covered. That shows you it was a wild week in the NFL, where week 4 was almost all favorites. Like that clip from the Brand Sports Podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand Sports Podcast right here on YouTube.